Love and sexuality have been the main focus for my academic studies, but also my profession for several years. And sometimes I truly wonder, what the heck is love? It's a mystery even to me. For some people, the feeling of love is magical. And at the top of the wish list is this idolized and romanticized version of romance that we're taught in storybooks as children. And what is sex? When I tell people that I studied sexology, I quite often get the questions, but how many sexual positions are there to learn? I don't have a specific number to share with you, but it's interesting that the main perspective of sex is practical, where to have your limbs during potential genital contact. But why do we, time after time, put so much work into our relationship and that constant chase of a smashing sex life? Sometimes it can feel hopeless. Wouldn't it just be easier to live alone? Maybe some of you recognize this feeling. Some of you nods. For you who nods, I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be hopeless and what kind of efforts your relationships need to get going. One way to understand this is to look at the definition on what sexology actually is, the knowledge of the human sexuality. And this is a phenomenon that could be understood through many perspectives. For example, biology perspective and the knowledge of our bodies. We all have a unique physique with different zones on it that are sensitive to touch. And this explains why some people like to be kissed on the neck and others like getting their toes sucked. And this is good information to have during sex if you want pleasure, both for yourself but also for the ones that you have sex with. And pleasure could be explored in all infinity if you only have the imagination. Which leads us to the field of psychology, the knowledge of the mind, the behaviors and the feelings, how we think and dream about sex, and how we behave before, during and after sexual relations, and how it makes us feel. Psychology is a broad spectrum of things happening inside of us that we sometimes are quite aware of and sometimes totally not. Sexology could also be understood through the lens of culture. And this little piece of metal that I have around my left ring finger is a clear symbol of marriage or engagement, as we have named it in our cultures. Another example could be the collective view that we have on relationships and sexuality that we are taught very early in life. I was one of those children that was taught that there is one specific person for me out there, my one true love that just waits for me. And this was a story that sometimes really could soothe my soul and give me comfort. But at other times, really put me at risk when I time after time tried to establish relationships that wasn't that good for me. Let's dive into an arena where you most likely have came across a sexologist before, in the sex columns in the magazines, where readers can send in their questions to a so-called expert that will give them answers to the questions asked. I can remember myself as a teenager just waiting on my tippy toes for that magazine that I subscribed to pop into the mailbox. And the first page I would always look up to, first and foremost, was that column, where a counselor gave answers to questions that young people asked. I think that maybe it was then my dream to become a sexologist actually started. What I learned back then was that we as humans, we ask questions about things that are important to us. But these questions are also a direct reflection of the lack of hope that some people experience, but also what kind of norms that we are marinated in. How can we get our sex life going while our child is still a toddler? How can I climax? And what can I do to find a partner? Quite often, people asking these questions want a short answer with a guarantee of a quick result. People may think that I, as a sexologist, only give advice on sexual positions, guide couples into intercourse, or help couples get in the right mood. But at my workplace, there are no sexual activities on the agenda. Let's be clear. I meet people who want change, but have difficulties achieving it. I meet people who come to me to talk about problems and obstacles that they experience in the relationship to their partner, or the lack of emotional contact. I meet people with erectile dysfunction, genital pains, experiences of sexual violence, and lots of couples that want their sexual life to be what it used to be. Some of my clients in the beginning actually think that I'm some kind of a magician, that I can provide them with that very desirable love potion, or give them that golden pill that will guarantee them a problem-free sex life. But I'm not a wizard. And relationships are rarely like in the fairy tales. As children, we are taught many myths about relationships. We are colored from those norms and standards that we are taught, and then also will affect us as adults. One of those sagas is that there is one specific soulmate for each and every one of us out there. I actually happen to know that around 25%, that means 1 out of 4 people in this audience, believes there is one specific person for you out there, that one true love. It's like fate, written in the stars. But let's be real here. Today, there are almost 8 billion people on Earth, and if you believe that there is only one person for you, that is the one for you, then you potentially have to date a lot of people if you will have to find that specific person out of 8 billion people. When we try to navigate in this mystery thing we call dating, I can see a tendency that people put every trait they want, long for, and dream about in life in general in one specific person. Someone you can trust, who has your back, shares the exact same interest in you, and likes pasta, and can listen to British girl groups all the time without making an effort. This may or may not be my own private list. That's for you to wondering about. Of course, we need some criteria when we search for a partner. Otherwise, we could just grab anyone under the arm and call it a day. It's the struggle about balance, right? Studies, because I nowadays read more studies than fairy tales, actually argue against the myth of one true soulmate. Studies show that if you want a long-term relationship, it will increase if you can see the potential in the beginning for it to grow over time. That it's good enough in the beginning, as long as you can see the potential, and also if you have some relational skills. Yes, skills. Because let's say that you have found that golden ticket, a significant other you would like to spend more time with. I don't want to be a party pooper here, but the work doesn't stop. Now another kind of work begins. I'm sorry, and congratulations. People meet in a lot of different ways. Through friends, online, on the train, in the supermarket, or in different kinds of arrangements. And before you are one of those couples in my therapy couch, you will get to learn how your partner communicates. And you will also create your own little couples language, let's say. But then something occurs. Just like a sty in the eye, it's just there and creates that irritation that has the potential to ruin a whole day. It's not supposed to be there. Some couples that come to me define a good, healthy, and romantic relationship as something that is free from conflict, free from friction, and free from disagreements. And this is a major misconception. The fairy tales do quite a bad job of describing, let's say, heated arguments over the dishes in the castle. the affairs in the secret garden, or the discussions if or if not you should have a child. And don't even get me started on that evil mother-in-law. There are no lucky charms for you to just get the skills to be a part of a relationship. Love isn't all we need after all. We need the skills to get the love going. We also need the respect for one another, but also to ourselves. When I take a look in my very stereotypical bookshelf of a therapist, with text from the first text of Sigmund Freud about human sexuality, to a bit more modern theories about the relationship between people and social media, looking for an answer to the question, why do we need relationships? The answer seems to be because they are important to our well-being. And for some people also, the meaning of life. We are social beings, after all. We need each other, and we are drawn to each other, and we need relationships. Even though that sometimes could be a bit of a pain in the behind. And maybe this is one of the paradoxes that I find most thrilling about my job. But not the only one. Another thrilling thing with my job is that I occupy myself with themes that not everyone has a language for. Both sexuality and relationships are themes that we don't talk about with whoever, whenever, or wherever. Even though we all engage in it one way or another, more or less or close to not at all, but we lack the habit to talk about them. But in my therapy couch, I help couples put their wishes into words. Because with the help of words, we can create our reality. And we could also increase the chances for our wishes, dreams, and fantasies to come true, and even get the chance to fulfill our dreams, wishes, and fantasies to our partner. And we'll also get the levels of hope upwards. And I'm quite aware that this is not an easy task. But when it comes to it, if you do nothing, don't expect change. But I may have something to offer you. Maybe the closest thing that we can come to this magic potion. Under my years as a therapist, I see 3 skills that keeps repeating themselves as an ingredient for a more successful relationship. The first ingredient, or skill, would be courage. Courage to be a part of a relationship and put in the work. Courage as well to offer transparency to your partner, to tell what do you want and what do you dream about in your relationship, but also courage to listen. The second ingredient, acceptance. Acceptance for each other's differences. And this will also come with a greater will to compromise. And the third and last ingredient for the magic potion or skill would be talking. Surprise, right? There's a reason why we therapists repeat ourselves about this. You need to master the art of communication. But I would like to add another step to this communication, and that is to talk and communicate to yourself. Because when it comes to it, the longest relationship you will have in life is the one to yourself. So, courage, acceptance, talking. If you could manage these three skills, your chances to have a long-lasting and hopefully happy relationship will increase. And maybe that smashing sex life will be a bonus. So if you're waiting for that fairy godmother to come to you and just wave with her magic wand, you probably have to wait a long, long time. This is not magic, but there's work to do, and that works like magic.